So Noah's condition, Pura Syndrome, affects his he's got all over low muscle tone, so it affects his walking and his ability to communicate. We don't have much communication at all. It's all verbalized through sounds, as in if he's happy, he'll smile and clap his hands. If he's sad, he cries. That's about the level of his communication. He has a lot of chest problems. He has grown out of that, but we still get them, but not as much as what we did in the first few years. We were in and out of hospital quite a lot with chest infections. He can walk in a walker, but we have just had a major operation. He's not quite back up on his feet yet. So a lot of physio to try and get him back to being able to walk in his walker. Alongside of that comes epilepsy, so we have medication to help try and control that. Sometimes it's good, sometimes not so good. We have trouble with eating sometimes, so sometimes he has swallowing issues and can choke a little bit on food, but he loves food. He will eat food all day long if you let him.
And and just how rare is Pura syndrome?
It's super rare, about 380 worldwide. I haven't got an update figure on that, but it's somewhere around that. When we were diagnosed a few years ago, it was about 180 worldwide, so it is getting a little bit more known out there. But there's not many in the UK. I think there's about 5 or 6 in the UK. So none of the doctors know anything about it. Us as parents are the ones that normally go to them with ideas, or we've read this somewhere, or another family somewhere has given us this advice. And a nice little community. We have a Facebook group, Pura Syndrome, on there, and we all support each other. Yeah, and it's lovely.
And when Noah, was born, you know, did you kind of realize straight away that he had this syndrome? What was the process like for you? How did you feel?
Yeah, so when he was born, it was a normal pregnancy. We had extra scans because my first child was a big child. So nothing was picked up on any scans. It was only when he was born, and he was born at 39 weeks because he was breech. And then he was just having trouble breathing, so he was taken off and ventilated and taken to a out of area hospital. I couldn't go because I'd had a cesarean and there was no beds at the time, so his dad went with him. And we were in hospital. He was in intensive care there for about 2 weeks, and then we came home back to Scarborough, and he was in the Scarborough there for a couple of weeks as well. And yeah, he just was very floppy. He was just known as a floppy baby, and had congenital hypertonia. Those were the only two words that were ever sort of discussed with us. And then as he got older, it came into global developmental delay. Every test we had came back negative. There was just nothing. It was very frustrating. He was just classed as an undiagnosed child. And then we went into a study called the Triple D study, in, I think it was Cambridge, and we were in that for a couple of years, and then eventually it came back with a change in his Pura gene, which then gave us the diagnosis of Pura syndrome.
And how did that make you feel, knowing that he went from, all these tests and they said that he was an undiagnosed child, to actually finding out what he actually had?
Um, Devastating in some ways, but then on the other side of that, to know that there was actually something, because you drive yourself mad thinking, is it me? Am I seeing these things? Will he get better? Will he catch up? Because a lot of global developmental delay can catch up in the years. So to know that that probably is never going to happen, it's kind of nice to know, and know what direction you're going in, instead of constantly being let down all the time when he's not hitting those milestones. Um, so yeah, bittersweet, and especially when you're doing paperwork and things like that, to try and get help with things, you need a diagnosis. With no diagnosis, you quite often get turned down. So
And how's family life now? particularly with, you know, the cost of living. I know that many um charities, you know, they have like a lot of equipment and stuff. It costs a lot. So how is family life for you?
It's difficult. General day-to-day living. Trying to heat the house in winter because he needs to be kept warm. The gas bill was horrendous during the winter months, and especially because we had an operation in February, so he was at home and not at school for 12 weeks and had to have the heating on all day for that. So yeah, it's very difficult, and yeah, charities do help, which is a godsend for us families.
And is there anything that you're sort of wanting to get across or kind of raise awareness about, maybe, you know, to help those parents out there who might have children who are being told that they are undiagnosed, but you know their child might actually have a really rare syndrome like Pura.
Yeah, so I think it's just trying to get those tests in there when the first born, if there's things that aren't quite right. A lot of the children that are born have respiratory problems and find it hard coming off ventilators, or they're on airflow or oxygen for quite a long time. For those children to know that there is a condition out there called Pura syndrome, and just to have that test done to see if it could be that, would be amazing. Because if we'd have had that, we were 5 years undiagnosed, so to know that from word go is, and have the support of the other families, that is massive. So that would be good.
And how is Noah?
At the moment, he's good. Very naughty, very cheeky. It's having a 2-year-old in an 11-year-old's body. He destroys the house, but like I said, he has just had a major operation to try and correct his feet, because his feet turned really badly inwards and was affecting his balance. So he had a little bit of bone taken from both of his hips and put into his ankles. That process has been very long and very hard, physically, mentally for myself, but physically for him too. He had to sit still for 8 weeks. He wasn't allowed to put any weight down on his feet, and he's bossed it. He's just, for a child that never sits still, just stayed still and did what he needed to do, and he's just amazed all of us. I can't believe how well he's actually done. We are still struggling to get him back up on his feet properly. We're still waiting for some splints to help him stabilise. There's a massive weight on those, as there is for anything. So once they're here, we can hopefully do a lot more intensive physio and get him back up on his feet and back to what he was before. But he's just so happy. He loves life. He loves being out in the outdoors. He's with the carers today. They have a chalet on the beach, so he'll be, hopefully, if the weather picks up, he'll be down there and playing with his friends. So, but yeah, just a joy most of the time. It can be a pain for me, as all kids are for mums. But as a whole, he's a very happy little soul.
You said that it's taken sort of a mental and kind of physical toll on you. So how are you feeling?
Hit and miss sometimes. Moods are very up and down. Physically, I've had to do a lot of the carrying because he's not been able to walk to transfer. So my back was quite bad already from the lifting with him. We've been, with the housing crisis that we've had, we've been on the housing list for nearly 3 years. We've just got a house. So now I can have a downstairs bedroom and bathroom adapted and built onto the bottom of that. And I just can't wait to eliminate the risk of falling with him, because I've fallen with him a few times. And just so that he can have some more independence and get himself in and out of bed without me having to carry him and lift him in and do all of that. So that's going to be massive. And it's just the weight on that is quite a while as well. So